story so far is Katrine has sold her voice to the night. She's become a cult leader. She's taken her band as captives, and she's rising the sea level. What if I just open the doors and just sort of play around with how far you can go with your beliefs?
Hi.
Hello.
So, this is a YouTube channel called We Are Folk. We are in Norway on Midgardsblot Festival, and we are talking to Kalandra. Hello. So, I think today we talk mostly about your new record. So, you published the debut album, The Line, in 2020, 4 years ago. Now, you are ready with the new record, A Frame of Mind. How you describe the band's evolution during those 4 years?
You can answer this.
I think we've said this many times, but it's an evolution. Writing music as a band versus writing music as a pop artist is different in a way that we tend to spend longer on our songs.
Yeah.
It's like the ideas can be quite spontaneous, but then we spend hours and days and months on each, like exploring what the individual track can become. And it is, we're still just trying to find the sounds and the themes and the storytelling that inspires us. And that means we have to sort of dwell into ourselves and like find what is actually like present in ourselves. So.
Yeah.
So,
if it wasn't for the fact that we had a deadline for our record label, we could probably just keep refining stuff forever, for years and years. But yeah, when they give us a deadline, you gotta deliver.
So the label decided to participate in your
label,
creative process. So why is the name of the album, The Frame of Mind?
Well, because it is sort of a very introspective journey. It is a frame of the mind, and also, you know, we thought a frame, this album, the vinyl, it's a frame of our minds, and our musical journey. I have a lot of mosquitoes next to you. They love him.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said it so many times, like it's an introspective journey, but it is, and it's also sort of venturing into ourselves because we are a product of the time. You know, the mind is affected by external factors, obviously, but also the mind can also affect matter. So as you think, so shall the world become in a way, and that's also what inspired our artwork and psychology and the mind has always been like a great sense of inspiration for me, for myself and my band members and the people I meet. Yeah.
I also think that as I mentioned earlier, it's just like it's the process of letting go when you release new music. It's just like you never finished. It's just like I can't really do much more. It's just you have to sort of say that no, it's finished, it's done, and that listening back to things that we released before, it's just like it feels like a testament to the state of minds that we had, that like a diary from a different time. Like there's things you would have changed, but it's nice to just have released it. So A Frame of Mind sort of, it summed up a lot of concepts that we had and felt like we were talking about in the album. And it's just...
it's an extension in a way of what The Line is, our debut album. And we wanted the artwork also to reflect that, so it's easier for our audience as well to sort of, when you see the albums next to each other, you can tell that this feels like videreføring in English.
Continuation.
A continuation of our debut album. Yeah.
And what about the artwork? What does it mean that is a nice picture on the cover?
Yeah, it's sort of you can tell that we've been a little bit inspired by AI, but it has been hand painted by this artist named Elena Shubar. she calls herself Ellen Alien on Instagram. And like I said earlier, you know, the external factors in the world can affect how you think. But then also you do have the power to change, and you do have the power to sort of create your reality and your perspective on things. And so in a sense you can sort of project it further, and mind effects matter, and that's kind of what I wanted to reflect in the artwork when Elena painted it. And you can also tell that, you know, it's a bit macabre. Macabre, how do you say?
Macabre.
What is the English word for it?
It
It's a
is,
bit,
it
I
is
think
a
it's the
French
same,
in a
word
way.
that is become
Usually it's
English,
used the same.
Yeah.
macabre.
I was really inspired when I watched the movie Annihilation, sort of how nature sort of is a part of human. I like that it's not separated. I like that it sort of molds into one nasty thing. Nature is brutal in a way, and our former song Borders on our album The Line also mentions that. There's no mercy from nature, and like I sort of like the way that nature can take over humanity in a way.
That being said, though, like I don't think there's just one sort of meaning behind any piece of art. It's just we found something that evoked emotions that sort of represent the album in a way, and we had the artist sort of make her own interpretation of that, and it's just the theme is, I mean, the meaning is happening in the listeners. I mean, we try to put our meaning into it, but in the end we're not feeling the emotions of the listeners. We're feeling the emotions that goes into creating the art. So it's not saying that this is the meaning that we sort of prescribe to the artwork, sort of takes away something as well.
Yeah, I don't really want to tell people exactly how to perceive it, because it's open. I want them to put their own meaning to it. Even though I had my feelings when I wrote it, you know, it's not necessarily my work anymore. Now it's for other people to perceive.
And sometimes even people can find some meaning that you didn't even know you put there, and it's just like, oh, that makes sense in a way. Like, I think I resonate with that sort of explanation. So.
And sometimes it's taken me 2 years until I realize what my own song meant. With Virkelighetens Etterklang, I was like, oh, maybe that's what it meant. Or with Bardagen, it's like, oh, maybe I was angry, but I've just been gaslighting myself.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sometimes I catch myself also I find some interesting thing to do, or like some hobby, and I realize, okay, but I was thinking about the same thing 20 years ago. And it just grew somehow. And then I realize that, it's something that not minutely, but like...
It's like a good book you've read as a child, and then you find yourself sort of empathizing with certain characters, and then you read it again as an adult, and then you empathize with completely different characters.
Exploring.
Yeah, and it's just like the book hasn't changed, but your perception of life has changed. So yeah, I think that's art, good art. You can empathize it or find meaning in the same art at different times of your life.
Yeah, and since we spoke about Borre, I usually, I ask about the meaning of few songs. So you have kind of unspecific lyrics there, but when we watch the music video, it's a lot of symbolism. You have armors and there are knives, fights, you got carried by the boat, you pierce a heart with some knife, and you are in chains, and there is that magnificent shot when there is a dam. I don't even know how you managed to get this location.
You gotta ask Ragnarok Film, our production crew. They have contacts, and you never know, because people are generally really happy to help out. If you tell them it's for a music video, do you think we could use this place, and do you you want to get your men on board to sort of make this happen? Like a regular sort of building site, for example, would never in a million years imagine that. Why would you want to film a music video here? But then, you know, I think people have a tendency to really come to aid and be like, yeah, I want to be part of this project. That sounds fun. But yeah.
Yeah, I think
I don't want to explain too much about the
No,
meaning of Bardagin.
give away too much.
Yeah, and it's like I want people to take and apply their own meaning to it. But I mean, obviously I keep saying this over and over again in interviews as well, but we are a product of the time that we live in, and of course we are affected by war and everything that's going on in the world. Of course it's affecting us.
Yeah.
Of course I worry about the future and my own place in it, and whether or not I'm maybe too sensitive for this world right now. Yeah.
But I think artistically, on the ideas behind the music video was to take real life paintings and make it a video. So and like there's an overarching theme of fight in internal and external, like survival, and there's a lot of inspirations from sort of mythological themes and all paintings, and try to sort of emulate that.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Enough said.
Right. Great. The state of the world, it's like a prayer to me. At least you like pray, you call for stopping the violence.
Yeah.
It's quite unusual, I would say, for a song, because it's, I would say, it's not always we hear this literal prayer, like please stop. Usually it's kind of hidden or like played around or implied. Why you choose such upfront approach?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is quite deliberate, it's quite literal. I listened to Imagine by John Lennon, and I've always thought that was such a cheesy song in a way. It's being so blatant about it. Imagine all the people living life in peace, and you're like, yeah. But then, but when war feels a little bit closer to you, you're like, is there anything else that needs to be said other than that? I feel like what could be more true? What could be more honest and more heartfelt and true than that? And why is it such a bad thing to be naive and wanting and yearning for peace and love? Like what could be more honest? So I thought, we did discuss this when we made the song. The guys were like, I don't think that you should say may war stop once and for all, because you're literally saying exactly what it is that you want. Why not hide it between like calamity or use other types of words? And I was like, no, but this is what I want to say. This is what feels true to me. And also with Bardagin, you know, there's the ugly side, and the state of the world is the nice, the coming together side. And I feel like it's important to capture all states of the human mind, the human condition, where we are both the lightness and the dark. We do venture and we do find ourselves in periods, in times of our life where we feel a bit chaotic. We don't know where we're going. Sometimes we just want the world to burn, maybe so we can get a fresh start. And sometimes we're like, no, that is a coward way of going. Maybe we just need to persevere and keep trying to find peace in times of chaos. Maybe that is the true and the real hard job. Kind of like a relationship in a way. Yeah.
When I feel like State of the World was a difficult one for me. And because like Katrine wrote the lyric at a specific sort of time and place when it was really sort of heartfelt and naive in a way. And I think about growing up, you have all these sort of solutions for things, but then you sort of slowly realize that life is more complicated and there's no easy solution. But then me being sort of more cynical and hearing the first draft of the song and the lyrics, the side of me that was getting cynical resisted it, like tried to sort of change it and like came with suggestions like I think it would be better like this and this and this, and a lot of the changes came in, and then it's just like you came up and said like I think it's just worse.
It's lost its
sort of
inherent meaning and feeling.
And I felt, and I had to read it, like listen to it one more time, and it was just like, yeah, you're right. I didn't make it better. I just made it sort of more vague, more sort of like easier to sort of appease, because
I felt like you came with your rubber
yeah,
and just wanted to like make it a bit more vague,
yeah,
which I understand because it's nice to perceive vague lyrics, but then it wasn't what was best for the song.
Yeah, and I did it because I didn't dare to be as naive myself, you know, like that is, it was my own sort of resistance to the themes. And after that, I think we took away went almost all the way back.
To the beginning.
And the only thing that we kept from my sort of contribution was sort of my reminiscing about Lost Innocence, or like it was changed in...
It's a beautiful sentence.
Yeah, but it's just like, just as a question, you know, like to sort of, is it this or is it this? But sort of the main theme of the song is the naive prayer and hope for peace, which is, it's so naive, but it's also so necessary. Because like, what is hope except naivety? You know, you have to be crazy to believe that things are gonna be fine, because it's, in the end, it's not. But you have to resist it as long as you can, and as, you know.
Yeah, I really find this explanation beautiful, because it's kind of, you had a dialogue with yourself, trying to express it, and basically it's like a psychology session.
Yeah, it's a battle between our minds, you know, as well, in the song.
Yeah.
And that is also what the album is sort of.
I remember seeing Paul McCartney, not like to compare our work to the Beatles, but it's just Paul McCartney said something very interesting about his relationship with John Lennon. He said, like, John Lennon, growing up with all his issues with his dad and all that stuff, he had a really cynical sort of presence to him. And John Lennon, now Paul McCartney, he grew up in a really like happy childhood home and like a nice family, and he always had like a positive outlook. But then John Lennon would come in and sort of have this sort of commentary, like this one line that sort of gave it a different possible view. And he would do the same with John Lennon's, like more sort of...
To complement.
Yeah, so it's a compliment to sort of bring different sort of perspectives to the same dilemma. And I think we sometimes try to do that as well. Not as good as the Beatles, but it resonated to me when I saw that interview.
And one of my favorite songs is Are You Ready? Especially together with this brilliant music video. Katrine, I know you're one of the most righteous person ever. You're like always defending various causes online on Instagram. But you are very convincing as a cult leader.
You are too kind to put that on me, that I am righteous. We have, because you don't want to make me start believing I am righteous, because then I'll become a cult leader.
Okay.
You know, I'm lucky in the sense that I have band members who can hold me accountable, but I do definitely play around with the fact, like, how far could we go if we started to believe certain things, you know, I struggle with the thought between, like, is there a higher power or isn't there, for example? And how far to the left or how far to the right should I lean in terms of what's correct? And I think it's, I wanted to just like play around and see just sort of like, what if I just open the doors and just sort of play around with how far you can go with your beliefs, sort of. And because I have friends and people believe the different things, and I always find that very interesting, like at what point did you sort of whoop and just go down the rabbit hole, you know? I find that interesting. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, like don't want to say too much about meaning, but the meaning of the music video is definitely not let's start a cult. It's a good, like, it's definitely not a good thing. I mean, we are playing around with the concept, and we're playing around with the imagery of various sort of religious beliefs, and we try to not sort of, we're not attacking anything.
It's not necessarily just religious beliefs. It's the fact. It's about people's minds.
Yeah.
It's about at what point did you just start to like run for like this direction? Because I think it's healthy to sort of lie in the middle, take bits and bobs from various people, but it's so comfortable to follow someone. I mean, life is difficult. We go through a difficult life. It could be health and sickness in the family or whatever, and sometimes it would just be so nice if sort of a higher power sort of ascended from above and was like, go this way, go this way.
This is
the right path for you. And you're like, oh, thanks, because now I don't have to think anymore. I can just walk this way.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunately you have to make the choice. Always, every day you make choices. And it's exhausting, but it's also necessary, and it's all down to you and the choices you make and what path you want to take. And it's both exhausting, and I can totally understand why some people prefer to be led. Yeah.
It's easier. Yeah. It's like thinking is a hard job, hard work.
It is.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens, I think, that people think, okay, it's a hard work, I don't want to do it. I just
like making an active choice to listen even if you disagree, making an active choice to have compassion with people you don't particularly like. It's tricky.
And then question your own beliefs. That is also tricky. To actually to be curious to why it is you feel a certain way and why it is you act a certain way. And just sort of be able to ask yourself why, and then if the answer isn't necessarily sort of a good thing for you, then maybe you should challenge it. That is hard. It's hard to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You basically answered my question, because when I was watching the video, the music is almost like a soundtrack. It's almost too well matching everything that's going on.
It's we did try to put some comic relief in there with a hen walking on the table and stuff, but the song is kind of written like a script.
You had like a music video in mind when you wrote.
Sometimes I very often have music videos in mind when I write. I see where we are in the whole imagery, and I also see artworks, and I write for artworks and stuff. So it's like, all kinds of inspirational sources come to mind. But with Are You Ready, I definitely saw that there was this sort of, there's two sides, and both of them need each other, and they become dependent on each other to function and to grow. But it's not healthy. You can compare it to relationships, you can compare it to different groups, political views. I think it was important for me to sort of experiment with that.
I really like how deep the album actually goes, because comparing to pop music, when it's just like, don't worry, be happy, and let's dance, some beat maybe. This goes so much deeper. This is completely from different position, different source, I would say.
I will say there's a lot of pop music I do like, but I think both sort of worlds can learn from each other. I mean, I'm quite satisfied with the fact that there's, in the music business now, in the music industry, there's actually musicians at the top. I mean, it sounds weird of me to say this, but there's actually people who can write and can sing and can produce their own music, like Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift. Like they actually write and play and sing themselves, and that hasn't always been the case in pop music. So I mean, I feel optimistic about the genre, I think.
And
right now.
also, I don't think we could have written much. I don't think we would have been too good at writing pop songs. I think it's just like at a certain point you have to find like what it is that you can contribute with, and I think we're lucky enough to have found a path and found the fact that people want to listen to it. So
Yeah.
quite.
I wouldn't be as great of a writer without you and without Florian sort of holding me accountable. If I was a pop artist,
And Oscar.
he doesn't comment on lyrics.
Oh yeah, no.
He
the lyrics,
composes. It's you and Florian who comments on lyrics mostly. But if I was a pop artist, I wouldn't be as good as I am with you.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Glad that you acknowledge that.
As a journalist, I already heard the full album
Mm-hmm.
and got a question about Segla, or how you spell it.
Segla.
Segla. So it's about sailing.
Mm.
And I simply got a question. So this is, if you don't understand Norwegian, it's like quite calm song and a little bit epic song, but it's kind of gives you that calm feeling. But when you read the lyrics, when you translate, it's kind of dark again.
Yeah.
Somebody is going to the sea, apparently disappearing, I don't know, forever or just for a moment. So who is that character? Why?
I had originally written the song in English, and I thought that's a bit dark in English. It's a bit too melancholic, bit too depressive. It's like, underneath the water I drown the outside world, having conversations no living soul has heard. Yeah, I can relate to that, because I mean it's coming from me, but then I thought I'm not sure if I want to stand by that, because it's a bit sort of dark. Can we make it a bit more, I guess, artistic, or just I wanted to work with this writer named Alexander Lykke, because I think that he has a really poetic way of writing in Norwegian, and I wanted to see what he could do with it in, I think it's called Old Norse in English, we call it Nynorsk. And so he experimented with those lyrics and sort of translated my English version, and I think it came out much better, much more sort of hidden in a way, although it is a bit deliberate, but it's speaking about what also our song Borders again was speaking of, sort of submitting to Mother Earth, although Mother Earth does not really care about you. Mother Earth just is, and you just are, you just exist, and that's it. Nothing necessarily means something so much as it does in your own head, and you can surrender, or you can choose to sort of fight it. Yeah, she does not surrender, by the way, in the end. So I needed that sort of twist towards the ending. She decides that perhaps we have to go through life with the storms and learn to cope with the storms, because you can't sail without wind, basically. And that's when sort of and then you feel like the guitars and everything. You're just sort of standing in the storm with sort of rain and everything, and you're just like holding on to whatever it is that you are in this big world. You're just an ant, sort of, and I feel like it's great when we play that song after Borders, because I feel like I'm on the ship sort of holding on to some ropes, and the wind and the rain is just like slapping me in my face. Yeah.
Fantastic. I really love
that
love
didn't
how
sound as poetic in the end as I was imagining, but yeah.
It's so cool to listen you talking about the songs, because
Is it?
I
Okay.
I spent a lot of time listening a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Listened it on the plane yesterday, and so because I like to know what I'm asking about, and now I'm getting my answers. It feels really exciting.
Okay.
So it's totally.
I'm glad I answered that properly, in a proper manner.
So just about overall concept of the album. I actually notice it. Sometimes, I don't know if you put it deliberately or is it just appear to be there. You have some symbols that appear in different songs, like
Yeah.
cycles, notes.
Yeah.
Like what are those symbols and what is an overarching topics that you like meant with the song?
There are several overarching topics, I would say, from this. But I don't want to spoil too much. I think it's great that you hear the overarching symbolism. That means that we have done a good job editing everything.
Well, there was this really funny comment on YouTube by this guy. Okay, so the story so far is Katrine has sold her voice to the night. She's become a cult leader. She's telling she can persuade Mother Earth or something like that. It was just like a long list of things that just happens in the music video. She's taken her band as captives, and she's rising the sea level to drown them. And it's like,
it's like a full season of the Avengers.
It's just like a whole cycle of. It could be a book series. I don't know.
Yes, fantasy horror movie or something.
Yeah.
Going really interesting direction.
Yep.
Really evil.
But nice of you picking up on that. There is definitely some
overarching
themes,
elements. Yes.
Elements,
And perhaps the last question is not about the album. You are very invested in social media. Like you put an effort to actually actively promote yourself. So what actually works for you? Like what do you think is the best for a band or like some creative project to get more visibility? What approaches work for you?
Social media is something that I think every company, entrepreneur, band sort of needs to invest in today. But you have to try and find a way where it's enjoyable to you and where you can use it as a creative outlet for you, but not make it feel like it's a necessity, you know, like I have to post every day. We are told often that you need to post this, you need to post that, it's wise if you do this, you haven't posted in a while, can you please post something? And I allow myself to take breaks and stay out of the light for a bit because I think it's healthy, it's necessary for me, and when I post, I try to sort of make it an enjoyable experience. Yeah, or else it's just gonna sort of suck you into the void in a way, and it's too much at times.
It's somehow when you sit in front of screen, it's kind of taking your soul a little bit. You spend some time, your brain is working or you're doing something, but when you finish, you are empty in a way.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily bringing you peace.
Not always, but yes, a lot of the time. So you have to find a way where you feel like, oh, that was fun. That was a creative, fun outlet for me to do. And however people take it, it's not really. I've left my mark now, and that's it. Sort of take it as you please.
Yeah.
But if you feel like if you spend too much effort on it, I think. It's like with all the things in life. If you do anything too extreme, it's not any good.
Yeah.
You have to have a balance.
It goes back to Are You Ready? Sort of like making conscious decisions about your time. Like I personally would love to delete all my social media and not participate in any of it, but it's hard to sort of be in this sort of career path without sort of having some touch base with some of it. But I mean, like we have to sort of partake in this addiction of attention sort of machine that is social media.
Because we want to make a living from music. We want to have a life in music.
But at the same time, I think if you have, as you said, like conscious decisions about the time you spend on the social media platforms, like if you do it not mindlessly scrolling to sort of get away from your everyday life, then I think if you do it sort of, I want to follow this, I want to create this, I want to see this, and when it's not giving me that, then I'll put my phone away.
Yeah.
Then I think it can be a force for good, but it's definitely in most cases you are the product, not the customer.
Yeah.
And people should be aware of that. That was not your question at all, but
It's fine.
yeah.
It's part of it.
I'm here to make you talk,
Yeah.
not to talk myself.
And overshare.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what is oversharing, how much is over. I just would like you to maybe look at the camera and say a few words, like to the watchers directly.
Hello, we are Kalandra, and our new album, A Frame of Mind, is out now. Listen to it if you feel like it.